right, so we're diving into some super cool strategies to help improve your English speaking skills all on your own. We're going to go deep with this English Sleep podcast episode about practicing solo. It's seriously packed with tips from teachers who really know their stuff, and by the end of this deep dive, you'll have a whole bunch of techniques to help boost your fluency.
Yeah, what I think is so interesting about this episode is how it tackles this challenge so many people have. How do you practice speaking when you just don't have a partner? The hosts, Aaron and Evan, offer some pretty awesome solutions based on what they've done themselves.
Okay, so this first technique, I was like, whoa, when I heard it. It's the idea of thinking in English.
Mm.
Sounds simple enough, but I can totally see how translating from your native language would slow you down big time.
Oh, for sure. It's like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake at the same time. What Aaron and Evan suggest is totally shifting gears mentally. So instead of translating every thought, you actually train your brain to operate in English right from the start.
I like that. It's like immersing yourself in the language from the inside out. They even gave this example of narrating your morning routine in English.
Oh, totally.
Like instead of thinking, okay, I need to make coffee, you'd be like, I'm making coffee now.
Exactly. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. There's even science to back this up. Studies have shown that thinking in another language can actually rewire your brain to make you more fluent over time.
Whoa, that's wild. So thinking in English is like setting the stage for fluency. And speaking of actually speaking, this next technique might seem a little strange, but it makes sense when you think about it, talking to yourself. I'll admit I've caught myself doing this when I'm trying to work something out in my head.
It might feel a little weird at first, but
Yeah.
it's actually a really powerful tool. It's like turning your inner voice into a workout for your speaking muscles. When you actually say your thoughts out loud, you're practicing pronunciation, intonation, even grammar, all in a safe space.
Aaron and Evan even suggested having imaginary conversations in English, which I thought was kind of fun. It's like pretending you're ordering food at a restaurant or talking to a friend about your day.
Yeah, exactly. You're creating your own little English world. And if you want something a bit more structured, they talked about this thing called shadowing. You basically repeat dialogue from podcasts or TV shows or even audiobooks. You're like a vocal chameleon matching the speaker's rhythm, their intonation, pronunciation, the whole thing.
Okay, so that sounds challenging but fun.
Yeah.
Do you have to understand every single word when you're shadowing, though? Because I'm sure there will be times I come across words I don't know.
That's a great question. And honestly, no, you don't have to understand every single word right away. The main thing at first is to focus on the sounds and the rhythm of the language. It's about getting your mouth and your ears comfortable with the patterns of English.
So it's kind of like learning a song by ear before you even look at the lyrics.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. You're basically getting the melody of the language in your head.
Now, this next technique might be a little scarier for some, but I think it could be super helpful. Recording yourself speaking English. I know listening to your own voice can be kind of cringy, but think of it like this. An athlete wouldn't expect to get better without watching replays of their game right.
Exactly. Recording yourself gives you that feedback you need to see where you can improve. You might even be surprised by what you hear, things like how fast you're speaking, or if you're clear, or even tiny pronunciation things you didn't notice before.
You know what I think makes this so effective? It forces you to really pay attention to how you're speaking. It's like looking in a mirror for your pronunciation, intonation, and even your vocabulary.
It's all about awareness, and it's something that even really experienced language learners do. Even Aaron and Evan said they still record themselves all the time to make sure they're on point.
They even suggest just recording yourself for like 1 minute a day talking about something simple, like what you did that day or what you're going to do on the weekend. It's a manageable way to practice without feeling overwhelmed.
And the cool thing is you can listen back as many times as you need to really analyze how you sound. You can even try out different techniques or focus on things you want to improve, like how you say certain sounds.
So we've talked about thinking in English, talking to yourself, and even recording yourself. It's like building a solid workout routine for your English speaking muscles. But coming up after the break, we're going to explore how technology can take your training to a whole new level. Think of it like upgrading your home gym to a seriously high-tech facility.
Get ready for some really exciting tools and strategies to make practicing solo even more effective and way more fun.
Okay, so welcome back.
Yeah.
In the podcast, Aaron and Evan were like seriously hyped about how technology is a game changer for practicing English on your own. We've got AI chatbots, pronunciation apps. It's pretty
Oh,
amazing.
yeah. It's crazy how far things have come. It's like having a personal coach right there in your pocket anytime you want. And the
Mhm.
best part is these tools can really help with those tricky things that people practicing solo often struggle with.
Like what, for example?
Well, take conversation practice, for instance. It's not always easy to find someone to talk to, especially if you're learning by yourself. But with these AI chatbots like ChatGPT, you can literally chat in English whenever you feel like it. You can ask questions, get feedback on your grammar, even role play different situations. It's awesome.
That's so cool. It's like having a virtual language partner who never gets tired of you making mistakes.
Hmm.
Aaron and Evan also mentioned this app called Elsa Speak, which focuses on pronunciation.
Oh, yeah. Elsa Speak. It's really neat. It uses voice recognition to figure out exactly which sounds you need to work on. Then it gives you personalized feedback and even shows you how to move your tongue and mouth to get those sounds right.
Whoa, it's like a pocket-sized pronunciation coach. I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah.
It seemed like these tools could really boost your confidence, especially when you're practicing solo. It's almost like having a friend there to cheer you on.
For sure. Speaking of friends, let's talk about another technique Aaron and Evan talked about, reading aloud. It might seem kind of old school, but it's a really good way to improve fluency. And you can do it with any text you have lying around.
You know, I used to do this all the time when I was learning French in school, but I never really got why it was so helpful.
Well, there are a few reasons. First, when you read out loud, you're using different parts of your brain than when you just read silently.
Yeah.
You're using your ears, your voice, and your memory, which helps you learn better.
So it's like a full-body workout for your English skills.
Yeah, exactly. And it helps you focus on the rhythm and intonation of the language. Think about it. When you read silently, you're hearing the words in your head with your own inner voice. But when you read aloud, you have to slow down and really pay attention to how those words should actually sound.
Kind of makes sense. It's like training your mouth to move in the right way. It's also a good way to practice pronunciation, especially if you stumble on a word you don't know how to say.
Exactly. And Aaron and Evan had some fun ideas for how to fit reading aloud into your day. They even suggested reading things like grocery lists and emails out loud.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
It's like turning everyday stuff into little pronunciation exercises. They also mentioned reading subtitles out loud while watching movies or TV shows.
Oh, yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do. It's a fun way to immerse yourself in how English is actually spoken. You get to hear how native speakers use different words and phrases, plus you can try to match their tone and how fast they're talking.
It's like a cheat code for sounding more natural. Speaking of sounding more natural, Aaron and Evan shared what they called their secret weapon for fluency, imitating native speakers.
Ah, yes. This is where it gets really interesting. It's like you're absorbing the patterns of natural speech directly into your brain.
Okay, so how does this work?
It's simple. You pick short clips from movies, TV shows, podcasts, even YouTube videos. Then you really listen to how the speaker is saying those lines, their tone, their pauses, everything. And then you try to copy them as closely as you can.
So it's like learning a song you like by ear.
Exactly. You're not just memorizing words, you're capturing the music of the language. The key is to choose speakers whose accents and styles you really like.
That's a good tip. I have a few actors whose voices I totally love. I'm going to try this out with some of their movie scenes. It sounds like a really fun and effective way to get a more natural-sounding accent.
It definitely is. And here's another technique that taps into that fun factor, singing along to English songs.
Oh, I love this one. Music has always been a big help for me when I'm learning languages. It makes the whole process so much more fun, and you learn new words and expressions without even realizing it.
Right. And what's really cool is that songs often use contractions and connected speech, which are so important for sounding natural when you're speaking English.
It's like a secret shortcut to fluency.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to be a good singer to benefit from it.
Not at all. The point is to have fun and just enjoy the music. Now, before we move on to the last part of our deep dive, there's one more thing from the English Leap episode. I want to highlight Charlotte's vocabulary corner.
Oh, yeah. This part of the transcript is like a gold mine of useful words and phrases. I love how Aaron and Evan don't just list the words. They actually use them in sentences, which makes them way easier to remember.
Exactly. And this brings up a really important point about learning new words. It's not enough to just know what they mean. You have to actually use them when you're speaking and writing.
So it's like taking those new words for a test drive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The more you use them, the more they'll become a natural part of your vocabulary. Okay, so in the last section, we're going to bring all these techniques together and see how you can make a practice plan that fits your own learning style and goals.
Awesome. Let's do it. Get ready to put all this knowledge into action. Man, we have covered a ton of techniques for getting better at speaking English all on your own. From thinking in English to singing along to our favorite songs, it's clear that practicing by yourself doesn't have to be boring or a waste of time.
Yeah, it's all about finding what works best for you. You know what I think is so cool about all these techniques is that they put you in charge of how you learn. You don't need a classroom or a textbook or even someone to talk to make progress.
It's like taking control of your own fluency journey. And what really struck me was how important it is to be consistent and find ways to make practice a regular part of your life. Like even those little things we talked about, reading your grocery list out loud or talking about your day in English, those can add up and make a big difference.
Definitely. It's about making English something you're always around, not just something you study once in a while.
Yeah.
So out of all the techniques we talked about, which one really clicked with you?
I'm really curious about those AI chatbots for conversation practice. It seems like such an easy and convenient way to get some speaking practice in, especially on days when I'm not feeling up to a language exchange.
That's a great one. And it really shows how technology can make language learning so much more personal. You can basically create your own practice that fits your needs and what you're interested in. Like you could use ChatGPT to practice conversations about your work or your hobbies. Or you could even practice writing emails or presentations in English.
It's like having your own personal English tutor whenever you need one. I think that's a huge takeaway from this deep dive. Practicing English on your own is all about being creative and figuring out what works best for you.
Absolutely. There's no one right way to do it. It's all about trying things out, seeing what you like, and having fun while you learn. And here's one last thought I want to leave you with. Pick one technique that you're excited to try and do it every day for a week, even if it's just for a few minutes. You might be amazed by how much progress you make when you're consistent, even with small efforts.
I love that challenge. It's all about taking action and making those small steps toward becoming more fluent. So whether you're chatting with an AI, shadowing your favorite actor, or just singing your heart out in the shower, remember every bit of effort you put in gets you closer to your English speaking goals.
So true. And most importantly, don't forget to have fun along the way. Learning a language is an amazing journey, and there's a whole world of possibilities waiting for you when you unlock the power of speaking English.
Couldn't agree more. Keep practicing, stay curious, and enjoy the adventure.